Hey everybody, how are you doing? I hope you had a restful Sunday and a beautiful weekend. I just wanted to drop in and let you guys know what's coming up. Whew, I have a busy week, and I wanted to kind of give you a preview of what's going on. And I have some things due this week, and this was just an opportune time to kind of pop in. So, as the title suggests, I have new podcast episodes dropping. The first one is dropping this Friday. Yes. So, it's been a while in the making. Um, I've just been kind of in the trenches, getting so many things accomplished. I'm writing or responding to a very large opportunity. Pray your girl's strength. I'm in the final trenches with that one. And there's just so many things going on. I'm sorry, I'm a little distracted. Kind of should have tagged people into this live while the music was playing, kind of backwards, but that's okay. Anyway, but you know what? Let me get a little focus. Anyway, so I have new podcast episodes dropping this Friday. And the first episode is my episode. And quite frankly, and the title is I'm Not Afraid, I'm Discouraged. And that was inspired by a sermon I heard today. As you're coming into the room, say hello. You know how we were taught? We were taught to greet each other as we come into the room. If you're, I greet everybody. Anybody who stops by, I say hello when you after live. Anyway, and that was inspired by a sermon I heard today. That the first step of change is fear, but then fear becomes discouragement, and that touched my soul because so much of the marketing is around you're afraid. That's why you haven't done it. And I'm like, no, I haven't done it because I'm afraid. That's not it. And so the marketing doesn't speak to me and it may not be speaking to you. And then when I heard that sermon, I was like, that's what it is. People aren't doing things. A lot of people aren't doing things because they're in that discouraged moment. So I'm going to talk about that on my podcast. So then on March 10th, I'm going to bless you with this powerful conversation I had with Beverly Walther. Yes, the Beverly Walther. She was an amazing guest. We had an amazing conversation. We kind of just pulled the curtain. We just ripped that curtain down about what it was like to really be in business. And it was a powerful conversation. She's actually going to come back to the podcast, Contractors Conversation. It's wherever you listen to podcasts. We're on iTunes, Amazon podcasts, wherever podcasts are listened to, Google Podcasts, Anchor, wherever you listen to, but you don't want to miss that conversation. Then I decided to pull one from the vaults because she's going to be a facilitator at the conference I'm having in October. And we're revisiting a conversation I had with Miss Shalonda Clark, the components of leadership and its role in government contracting. I just felt that we needed to bring that back and delve into that conversation. And then she's also going to be a guest on the podcast. But I wanted to reintroduce her to the audience. Some of you know who she is. She is a powerful leadership coach. And I wanted to introduce her to my platform. Some of you know her, some of you don't. If you don't know her, you need to know her. And I wanted to pull that out of the vault to introduce you to her. And then I'm going to have her come back on the podcast and talk to you again. Very powerful leadership coach. That episode is dropping March 17th. Then we're going to delve into the importance of mental health. And for that conversation, my guest is Miss Zarika Lindsay. And she was a hoot, let me tell you. That conversation was funny, it was insightful, it was it was a hoot, but it was power packed, it was so full of information. And I think the most powerful nugget for me was we try to make our friends our therapists. And that is not their role. And when she said that one of her friends called her and said, "Do you have the capacity to listen to me?" Woo, that set me free. You've got to listen to that conversation that we had. That episode is dropping March 24th. Then I'm coming back in with a conversation with that's not coming through. And I just want to talk about some of the stuff that some of these government contracting coaches out here that are telling you are allowable, that are not allowable, that are telling you or instructing you that are doable in government contracting, they just aren't. So I'm going to just come back in and we're just going to talk about that on the podcast. Then I'm going to, now we're jumping into April 14th. I did an interview with a recruiting specialist, Miss Lashana Patton Jones, recruiting and bidding in government contracts. One of the things I've noticed is people talk about profit margins in government contracting. And that's because, quite frankly, most of you are working with coaches who have no experience in government contracting. So they're leading you wrong. You're working with recruiters who have no experience in government contracting. So they're leading you wrong. This is a powerful conversation you need to be involved in. And that conversation, we talked about how recruiting a government contractor in the bidding process goes hand in hand. If you're bidding wrong, then you're going to recruit wrong. That seems like a no-brainer to me, but then once again, if you're not working with a person who has industry experience, if you're not working with a person who has won contracts, if you're not working with somebody who has done the work in the industry, then they can't help you bid. Then they can't help you recruit. Then they can't help you get bidding rates. So that is a powerful conversation that we held. And then she's also going to come back and talk about how COVID changed recruiting. And now I'm quite sure that is going to be a powerful conversation that everybody needs to be a part of. How COVID changed recruiting. And then I'm going to come back on April 21st and I'm going to talk about your responsibility in government contracting. So I know that was a whole lot. I'm posting a infographic with all the dates of what's coming forward, what's not. But yes, it's a power-packed information on what's new for the podcast, Contractors Conversation, like this, wherever podcasts are hosted. We're on Spotify, Anchor, Google Podcasts, Still trying to get on Anchor, on Apple Podcasts, but whatever. We're actually on Amazon Podcast as well. So I just wanted to drop that out there in the atmosphere and let you know what's going on with me and LT&A Consulting Group. Have an amazing evening and start your day on tomorrow. I will go live on tomorrow just to drop you a little tiny tidbit of what's new, because there are some regulation changes on the way, some legislation that is going to affect government contractors that you need to be aware of. There are some budgetary changes coming down the pipe. I'm bringing back chatter. Not sure how that's going to look yet, but I am bringing back contractors chatter. So we have the podcast is a little different from contractors chatter, but there's just a whole lot going on. But I'm going to wrap this up. If you joined this late, the video or the live stream will be up for replay. And have an amazing evening, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.